Hi all. So in the last video we have discussed about the human digestive system. We have seen that the nutrition in humans is Holozoic, okay, and the digestive system, which is also called alimentary canal, it will start with mouth and it will end in anus. And in the last class we have discussed about mouth, okay, and how the salivary glands, okay, will be pouring the saliva. There are three different types of salivary glands: submaxillary, parotid and sublingual, which will pour the saliva, and the food, when it gets mixed with the saliva, it will be called as the bolus. So bolus basically will be pushed down through the next structure, which is called the esophagus, which is a long pipe-like structure and will not have any enzymes in it except for the muscles. The muscles will contract and relax and will push the food down into the next part, that is the stomach. Okay, so stomach basically is a storehouse of the food. It is a structure which will be helping in storing the food for about a period of 4 hours. So you can compare your stomach with a balloon like this. So the more and more food you give into the stomach, the more and more it will expand. If you don't give anything, it will be deflated like this only. Okay, it will be empty like this mostly. So we can just compare it with the elastic balloon. The elasticity would be mostly matching with that of a balloon. But when you see actually the stomach, it is made up of muscles. It is made up of muscles and also, okay, glands, which are called the gastric glands. Remember that stomach will have the lining inside. There will be a lining of mucous membrane that will be protecting your stomach inside. So mucous membrane lining will be there. It will be having muscles and also glands. So what are the secretions of the stomach? So stomach will produce hydrochloric acid, HCl, or the hydrochloric acid. So this is the acid which is responsible for two important functions, and this is a very, very important question from examination point of view. Repetitively they will be asking about the function of HCl. So what are the two functions of HCl? One is that it is antiseptic, that is, okay, whatever food you consume, in that if any bacteria is present, when it reaches the stomach, HCl would be killing that bacteria. So one is that HCl is antiseptic, and the second function is it will create an acidic medium. It will create an acidic medium in the stomach for the action of enzymes, So these are the two very important functions of HCl. Next, coming to what are the enzymes that are present in the stomach is, stomach consists of, okay, what are called the gastric glands, which will produce the juice called as the gastric juice. So gastric juice consists of enzymes. Pepsin and lipase are the enzymes. Pepsin and lipase are the two different enzymes. Pepsin will act on proteins. Pepsin will act on proteins, and proteins will be broken down into peptones and further to amino acids. So actually 30% of carbohydrate digestion was completed in the mouth by the action of the salivary amylase. So the remaining components which are there, okay, would be digested in further parts of the alimentary canal. So here proteins are getting digested by the action of pepsin into peptones and amino acids, and lipase will convert fats into fatty acids, and glycerol are the constituents. So like this, the components in the food would be broken down by the action of enzymes that are present in the gastric juice. Okay, for these enzymes to act better, acidic medium is needed. So that acidic medium is provided by the HCl. So like this, both of these basically would be helping in digestion process, and this, okay, actually would take around 4 hours for the complete action of the digestion to take place inside the stomach. So that's why when you eat, okay, 8 o'clock breakfast, you will feel hungry by 1 o'clock usually, because it will be digested by 1 o'clock, 4 to 5 hours. Again, it will take some 4 to 5 hours and your digestion would be completed. So regularly, okay, after every 4 to 5 hours, you have to feed, okay, so that your stomach, which will contain this gastric juice, would be acting on the components of the food whatever you eat. Suppose, okay, if you are not eating anything, let us suppose, then what will happen if your stomach is empty for longer periods? HCl that is there will create acidity. That is, there is nothing to act upon in the stomach. So HCl basically, it will start corroding the linings of the stomach, and that creates acidity in the stomach. Okay, so that's why you have to continuously give something to the stomach after regular intervals for these juices and HCl to act upon. Otherwise, these layers, okay, will get corroded. That is, they will be affected by HCl, and sometimes even small ulcers can be formed in the stomach, like which are called the peptic ulcers or gastric ulcers can be formed. Okay, so do remember that timely eating is also very, very important. Okay, then next, Actually, your food, when it is coming down into the stomach, here there is a sphincter. There is a sphincter. So what is the sphincter? There are sphincters in the digestive system. Sphincters are nothing but they are muscular structures. They are a ring of muscles will be there, which will be controlling the amount of food that is entering into the part from esophagus. Okay, the amount of food entering into the stomach would be controlled by a sphincter, and this sphincter is called the cardiac sphincter. What it is? It is called the cardiac sphincter. Okay, the sphincter which is present in the top region is called the cardiac sphincter. So that will control the amount of food that is entering into the stomach, and in the stomach it will be there acted upon by all these enzymes and HCl, and the digestion would be completed. And when your food gets mixed with the gastric juice and also with the HCl, it will become acidic. Okay, and that partially digested food, it is not fully digested there, it is partially digested, and when it is mixed with this, it becomes a slurry like mass, a loose slurry like mass, and that will be called as chyme. What it is? Chyme. So initially the food was like the bolus, and later it will get converted into chyme. So what is chyme? The partially digested food in the stomach after getting mixed with the gastric juices, it will be called as the chyme. It is acidic in nature. Chyme is acidic in nature. So like this, in the stomach, the food will be acted upon by the enzymes that are present in the gastric juice. Also, we have other enzymes that will be added into the gastric juice. Okay, like in the following parts, actually, when the food okay is mixed with the chyme that has okay being there in the stomach, from there actually the chyme passes into the next structure, which is called the duodenum. Okay, which is called the duodenum. So duodenum actually is the starting point of the small intestine, starting point of the small intestine. So after 4 hours of digestion in the stomach, the food will slowly start passing into the starting part of the small intestine, which is called the duodenum. So here you can see the U-shaped structure that is present here is what is called the duodenum. So the amount of food that is entering from stomach into the intestine, that is the small intestine. Duodenum is the starting part of small intestine. So the amount of food entering from the stomach to small intestine will be controlled by another sphincter here, which is called the pyloric sphincter. Okay, pyloric sphincter. This is very, very important from examination point of view. The sphincter is called pyloric sphincter. Pyloric sphincter basically regulates the amount of food entering from the stomach to duodenum. Roughly about 14 to 15 grams would be allowed at a stretch to enter from the stomach to the duodenal part. So in the duodenum, we have two important secretions. One is given by the liver, another is given by the pancreas. Two secretions are given. So liver, it gives out the juice which is called the bile juice. The juice is called the bile juice. Bile juice is the only juice in the digestive system which will not contain any enzyme. So you have to remember, this is also an important question that will be asked. Which juice does not contain any enzymes is the bile juice. Okay, but it consists of pigments, namely bilirubin and biliverdin are the pigments, coloring substances that will be present within the bile juice. So bile juice actually will be stored in a structure called gallbladder. Bile juice will be produced by the cells that are present in the liver, and it will be getting stored in this bulb-like structure here, which is called the gallbladder. Gallbladder stores the bile juice, and slowly, little by little, it will be releasing it into the duodenum. And then we have the structure called pancreas. Where is pancreas? As you can see, pancreas is present within the duodenal loop. It is present in the duodenal loop. So this pancreas basically will produce the juice which is called the pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice helps in digestion because it consists of enzymes, okay, amylase, trypsin and lipase. Amylase, trypsin and lipase. So amylase will act on carbohydrates. Okay, do remember that whenever the enzyme amylase comes, okay, the substrate molecule on which it is acting will be carbohydrate. So always amylases will act on carbohydrates. So here, okay, pancreatic amylase will act on carbohydrates and it will be converted into glucose, and there will be what is called trypsin, pancreatic trypsin, which will act on proteins and convert them into amino acids. Okay, then we have lipase, which will act on fats and convert it into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, so like this, the food which has entered into duodenum would be acted upon by the bile juice and also by the pancreatic juice. Now, there is a question about what is the function of the bile juice if if it is not having any enzymes? Okay, so the answer is bile juice will help in a process called as emulsification of fats. It is called as emulsification. Okay, it is called as emulsification. Emulsification. What is emulsification? It is called as emulsification. So what is emulsification? Emulsification is breaking down of large fat molecules into smaller ones is what is called emulsification. So bile juice will help in emulsification process, that is breaking down of large molecules of fat that is present in our food to small molecules, which will be called as emulsification. So this will be the role of our bile juice and pancreatic juice. So once our food is acted upon by these juices, slowly it will pass into the next part, that is the small intestine. So what will happen in the small intestine is, small intestine actually it's a very long structure, okay, which will be about 6 to 7 feet long. So it is all stuffed within the within your digestive system, and it has got some important enzymes which will be assisting in digestion. So coming to the small intestine, okay, after mixing with all the enzymes that are present there in the pancreatic juice, the food will enter into the small intestine. So small intestine basically produces a juice which is called the intestinal juice, or it is called the succus entericus. It is called succus entericus or the intestinal juice. So once the food enters into the small intestine, it is made alkaline because of the pancreatic juice. Actually, the food that was present in the stomach, which was acidic, becomes alkaline by getting mixed with the pancreatic juice. So the food that has entered your intestines would be alkaline in nature, and the intestinal juice consists of enzymes like protease, sucrase, maltase, etc. So protease will act on the proteins, okay, and convert them into amino acids. Sucrase will act on sucrose, that is a carbohydrate. Maltose, okay, would be broken down by maltase is the enzyme. So like this, different enzymes will break down all the components that are present in the food, and finally the digestion, okay, will be completed in the small intestine. Actually, when you see the small intestine, when you cut open and see the small intestine, so small intestine will have, okay, finger-like projections inside, okay, in the inner wall, which are called the villi. Okay, the finger-like projections which are present in the small intestine are called villi. So these villi basically will increase the surface area of absorption. So if anything is folded, what will happen? Its area will be reduced, but when you open it up, actually it will be very, very long. So this is what is called a surface area. So because of these finger-like structures which are present in it, actually your small intestine is all present in the folded form. So these villi actually, they increase the surface area of absorption. This is a very important point. So on the inner wall, the small intestine will have villi which will increase the absorption process. So all the nutrients that are there would be broken down in small intestine, and they will be absorbed in the small intestine through the villi. The nutrients, where they are getting absorbed, they will be absorbed into the blood in the small intestine. So after the food, the nutrients that are present in the food is absorbed, the undigested food will pass through the large intestine. So the next structure what you have is large intestine. So large intestine also do not have any enzymes. So food, once it is all absorbed, the undigested food will pass through the large intestine like this, and it will be getting stored in the rectum as feces. So this is the storage of the feces, or the stools they are called as, that will be stored there. The feces will be stored there. So feces basically will be formed by absorption of water and important salts. When your undigested food is passing all along the large intestine like that, important components will be absorbed, that is salts and water will be absorbed, and the stools that are there would be stored here. The undigested food which is formed as feces will be stored in the rectum, which is the feces tank actually it is called. And then it will be ejected through the anus out. So like that, only the undigested food will be eliminated through the anus, where all the important nutrients will be absorbed off into our blood. And next we have is this structure in the large intestine is called the appendix. What is this called? This is called the appendix. Okay, so appendix as such, it is not playing any role in digestion, but what they say is, okay, if the appendix is cut, then some of the immune power may be lost in the individuals. So appendix, when it is getting inflamed, that is, if it is getting, okay, attacked by some bacteria or some infection occurs there, it will be called appendicitis. And okay, that time appendectomy will be done. The appendix would be cut to relieve the problem of stomachache that usually occurs during the appendicitis. So like this, our entire digestive system, okay, would be made up of different enzymes, and whatever food you are eating, the complex food will be converted into simpler materials. Okay, and we will further okay, learn about some more details which are left over to be understood in the digestive system in the coming up video. Thank you. Let us quickly understand the journey of food through the digestive system. Food is loaded in the mouth, it passes through the esophagus, and then slowly from the esophagus it will enter into the stomach, where it will be acted upon by the gastric juices HCl, and from liver we have bile juice and pancreatic juice from pancreas being released. Food gets mixed with those, passes into the small intestine, nutrients would be absorbed. In large intestine, water salts are absorbed, it will be getting converted into feces, stored in the rectum, and finally eliminated through the anus, and thus the digestion is done.